Hey everybody, it's Hannah Faye. Thank you for coming to my channel. Today is part 2 of my Intro to HTML series. As I'm planning out these videos, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm teaching like what you need to know. I'm going to continue with this series. It's going to be like 3 or 4 parts just on like the introduction basics to HTML. But I'm also going to share resources with you just in case. So without further ado, let's get into it. So there are local attributes, and that's when an element defines its own attribute. And then there are global attributes, and these can be defined to any HTML element. Global attributes can be used on all HTML elements. Okay, I have my document here. I've got a list of global attributes that I've kind of compiled from a couple different sources to try to get the main ones that will work on most browsers. And this is what I've come up with, so we're just going to go down the list. We are going to start with access key, which is an attribute which allows you to pick a keyboard shortcut, access an element on the page. So one example would be like to use it on an input element. So let's go with text. Make it simple. Okay, now let's make, not accept, I did not mean to write that. Access key, let's make it T. So I made 2 text inputs. The name one has the access key T, and the age one has the access key A. So this is what it looks like in your browser. So most browsers have little shortcuts that you have to use to access the access key. So I use Firefox. So, you know, this name one, even though that's T, if I just press T, nothing happens. So on Firefox, you have to push Alt plus Shift plus the access key. So if I push Alt, Shift, and T, then it goes to the element that I listed the access key as T. So then the same thing with age. I have to push Shift, Alt, and then A, and then it goes, highlights the element that I set the access key A to. You will have to look up which shortcut combination your browser uses. Like I said, if it's Firefox, Shift, Alt, plus your access key. The next attribute is class, which is used to categorize elements. This is usually done so that you can group elements together. Like if you're using an external CSS style sheet and you want to apply a certain style to, you know, certain elements, just you can group them together in one class so that different elements have the same class name. So my class will be class 1. It doesn't matter what you name it. This is about my class. Class, you can actually have more than one class name. You could say class 1, class 2, other class, class 5. You can apply multiple ones, just make sure you separate the class names by a space. Next one is content editable, and this specifies whether or not you want the element to be able to be edited by the user or not. So I'm going to make a paragraph, and we will set this to true. You could leave it blank, and it will also just default to true. Otherwise, you can make it false to say absolutely not. So I'm going to say this is editable. I can't eat it. So I'm going to do the same thing with a break, but uneditable, and we'll make this one false. And so let's take a look. So this is editable, and this is uneditable. Do you see the difference? I cannot do anything here. But this, see, it's almost like a text box pops up, and you can write whatever you want here. So that is content editable. Oh my god, I keep saying edible. Editable. Okay, the next global attribute is data, which I think I talked about in part 1. But basically it's used to define like your own custom data types. So let's say shirt size, medium, I don't know. It can be literally anything, like or size of shirt. It could be something like, you know, if you wanted to maybe classify something like maybe you're looking at birds, you got an owl, owl. And then, yeah, see, this is what they look like. Nothing fancy, just regular text. Now we're going to talk about what I call the dir attribute. dir, it specifies the direction of text, whether you want it to go like right to left or left to right. So I made these 2 paragraphs, and I've set the first one to go right to left, and then the second one to be left to right. So I'll show you what they look like in the browser. This is the right to left. As you can see, it's starts on the right side of the page, and then this one on the bottom is the left to right, starts on the left side of the page. Now we have draggable is our next one. So this one is another Boolean, so if you leave it blank, it will be true, and if you want it to be false, you just type false. So I will do a true and false one. And draggable paragraph coming through. Okay, so I have these, this is a draggable paragraph. As you can see, you can't really highlight it. I don't think it's showing up on my recording, but when I click it and drag it, it actually has the text following my mouse. Whereas this one, it will, if you like try to touch it, it doesn't come with you. You have to highlight it and copy it. And this has many different uses. You know, you could like drag and drop pictures. Maybe you're making a game, questionnaire or something. The next attribute is hidden, and all you have to do is enter the word hidden. And it does exactly what you think it does. It makes it completely hidden. So this paragraph is hidden. You don't see it. Next attribute, we have ID. Oops, I'm gonna put that in some tags, huh? And this is pretty much used if you want to access it externally, like with JavaScript or CSS. We're gonna make the ID fruit, and I'm gonna say apples and oranges. The next one is language, but I'm actually going to take you back up here because it is already in the header here. So you can see in the opening HTML tag, it has lang, and that is short for language, and it is set to en, which is English. It's used to specify the language of the element's contents. Okay, next one we're gonna do is spell check, and that's basically going to tell the user if they are typing words that are spelled wrong. So let's get this text input here. Oh my gosh, I'm struggling. And it's another Boolean. If I misspell words here, it will tell you that you have misspelled a word. Next we have the style attribute, which allows you to define styles without having to like link to an external source. Like say you just want to change the style of just one single element. This is how you do that. So this one, I'm gonna make, oops, oh for goodness sake. I'm gonna give it a black background. I'm gonna make it white font. You can define a couple different styles on the same line here. Just make sure you separate them by a semicolon. The last one doesn't have to have a semicolon if you don't want. Hello. So it should give me just the words hello in white text, a black background. It did. Okay, great. The next attribute is tab index, and this allows you to specify which order the tab key moves through elements on the page. The default order is usually just the first element, the second element, as they're listed in the document, but you can specify if you want a different tab order, and I'll show you what this means. Okay, so this is what I've written. I wrote number 1, number 3, and then number 2, and as you can see, I have the tab index set at the first one is 1, the second element is 3, the third element is 2. We have 1, 3, and 2. So number 1, let's see, when we hit tab, is it gonna go to the next one? Because it shouldn't. There, it goes to number 2, and then it should go to number 3. Okay, so that's how that works. So next we have the title attribute. This kind of just gives your element a little more defining properties. In Firefox, when I hover over this element that says this text, this that says this is the title will pop up. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please ask them down below. I will do my best to answer. And like last time, I'm going to share some helpful links down in the description, some that have references to all sorts of attributes and other HTML, just references that you might want to see. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!